Hi everybody and welcome to a deck tech video for Inalla Archmage Ritualist. With us today we have Mikey, an expert from the Founders Club. Welcome to the channel.
Happy to be here. Innalla's been a deck I've been playing for about a year now, and it's definitely gone through a lot of changes since when I first picked it up. And it's an extremely fun deck that's very explosive, can get wins out of nowhere, and has a lot of really cool, intricate combo lines that every game kind of becomes like a puzzle, trying to figure out how to work with the resources in your hand and your graveyard to how you can piece together a win. And it catches people off guard a lot of times.
What do you find funny about this? Like, who's this for, so to say?
Inalla is for people that only can count to 4, because that's all we need to go off. So that's good. You know, we're not very good at math. And it's really good because you need very minimal resources to win. So even if our line gets stopped turn 2, because usually we're trying to go off turn 2, there are a plethora of 1-card wins that also get us there, whether it be Mnemonic Betrayal, Underworld Breach, Yawgmoth's Will, or any of our tutors, because we have a lot of redundancy and reanimation effects. And any of those, bringing back Spellseeker, we can usually try to go off the following turn or try to piece together some other win, whether it's Oracle Consult.
So it's a lot of puzzle gameplay, it sounds like.
Yes. So the initial line is about like 20 to 26 steps, something like that. I always lose track of the exact number. But the important thing is being able to, like, it's obviously important to know how to go from step 1 to step 26, but it's also really important to see when your graveyard gets set up, oh, I'm already at step 12. I can just skip steps now and get right to the win.
So how does your deck win? What is the Inalla combo that is 16, 15 steps?
The way that it starts off is we want to use Spellseeker, and we're able to use that to get Culling the Weak and Unearth. So following Culling the Weak and Unearth, the way that you want to sequence this is it only takes 4 mana, being 2 colorless and a blue and a black. So you cast your Spellseeker, and then you put the Inalla, you have the Spellseeker ETB on the stack, and you want to put the Inalla trigger under that. So you have the first Spellseeker trigger resolve, and that brings Culling the Weak to your hand, and now there's still an Inalla trigger on the stack. So then you use that 1 black you have open to sack your Spellseeker, get 4 mana, and then you use one of those 4 black floating to activate Inalla and get your copy of Spellseeker, which will then get your Unearth.
Short question, doesn't it take 5 mana? Because you need to pay 3 mana for Spellseeker, 1 mana for extra copy Spellseeker, and then 1 black mana for Culling the Weak.
So that's why we stack our triggers that way, because you have the Spellseeker ETB resolve first, so that gets you Culling the Weak to hand. You still have that black up.
I see. So you haven't actually gotten a token out of the Spellseeker yet.
Yeah, it's not until you resolve the Culling the Weak, and then you use one of those mana to get a copy of Spellseeker.
Clever.
Yeah, stacking triggers is really important in this deck. And then from there, so you cast your Unearth, you bring back Spellseeker. At this point, you'll have 2 black in your pool. So Spellseeker ETB again. At this point, you don't need to worry about stacking your triggers as much. Like, obviously, you need to wait to see if people have responses, but just for like the loop's sake, you can just make a copy of Spellseeker and you can double tutor here. On this double tutor, you are going to get Burnt Offering and Finale of Promise. So you need the Burnt Offering here because you need the double red for Finale. And so you cast the Burnt Offering, you sack the original copy of Spellseeker that you brought back with Unearth. So at this point, you'll also have an extra token, which is also important for how you can extend lines if things get interrupted and such. And then you cast your Finale of Promise, where X is 1. So this lets you cast 2 spells for free from your graveyard, or 1 instant and 1 sorcery for free that are mana costs X or less. So from there, you'll target Culling the Weak and your Unearth. You get some more Spellseeker triggers because you Unearth Spellseeker, you Culling, you have your 4 black mana, you go down to 3 black, and on these 2 tutors, you will get Entomb and Reanimate. And so this is where we start to get near like the end step of the loop. So this is kind of the initial setup because we need to be able to get Entomb in our yard, which is really important. Now that we have Entomb and Reanimate in our hand, you're going to want to Entomb your Archaeomancer from your deck. While Spellseeker is what enables everything, Archaeomancer is what actually will get us the win later down the line. So we will Entomb Archaeomancer, we'll reanimate it, take some life. This is part of the reason why we need 12 life total to go off. And you bring back your Archaeomancer. So at this point in the line, you're going to have 1 black in your pool. Reanimates Archaeomancer, have the ETB on the stack. There's only 1 black in your pool. And use the first trigger to get your Burnt Offering back to your hand. And then use the 1 black floating to cast Burnt Offering, and you'll make 4 black. So this is once again where it seems like you need 5, but you stack your triggers accordingly to where you get the Archaeomancer card back first, and then you cast it and then pay for Inalla. With the second trigger, you bring back your Reanimate, and you have 3 black in your pool. So from here, you will reanimate your Archaeomancer, and you resolve both your triggers again, so you'll have 1 black at the end of this, and you get Burnt Offering and your Finale of Promise back. So we're almost at the end now, I swear. Yeah. So at this point in the loop, you have Burn Offering in hand, Finale Promise in hand, you have 1 black in your pool. Use the 1 black, Burn Offering your Archaeomancer, and you'll make 2 black and 2 red off of this Burn Offering. Yep. So you'll have 2 red and 2 black in your pool, and you'll cast Finale Promise where X is 1. And here you will use Finale Promise to recast your Reanimate and your Entomb. So you're going to want to Entomb first, and that'll send Shallow Grave to the yard. And this is where we're actually able to start going infinite. So Shallow Grave's in our yard, and we cast our Reanimate to bring back our Archaeomancer. So this is the last of the 4 life we need to pay, and this is what brings us up to 12. So you bring back your Archaeomancer, and from here, you can use Archaeomancer to get your Burnt Offering back. And with the Inalla trigger on the stack, you cast Burnt Offering, make your 4 black, go down to 3 black to make a copy of Archaeomancer to bring back Shallow Grave. So at this point in the loop, you have 3 mana in your pool, and you have a Shallow Grave in your hand. So you're able to keep looping Shallow Grave, Burnt Offering with Archaeomancer. You'll continuously be mana neutral, and you'll be able to make infinite hasty Archaeomancers. So this is the end step of the loop, where you create, and the way that you win is through combat by swinging with a bunch of Archaeomancers.
Infinite of these.
Yeah, infinite 1/2s.
Well, infinite 1/2s will still kill.
Exactly. So that is the core basis of the loop. There's some variations where if you have like Entomb and Reanimate in hand, you can go through it. But a lot of those variations, I would just look into the primer and you can start to see on how like there's different puzzles and everything. It's just a little too much to all go over at once.
So you basically have a 1-card combo for only 4 mana with this just hanging in the command zone. Do you ever cast Inalla?
So you never want to cast Inalla, but there are some times where you do. Like if it's like a slow Staxy game and I just have nothing else going on, having a 4/5 blocker that can also attack can be relevant. That's kind of like a running joke with my play group is if I cast Inalla, they know like things have gone terribly wrong. But
yeah, I can imagine.
Sometimes it's the only option. So it's like, I'm hellbent. I have like 8 mana in play. I may as well get something on the board to try to pressure life totals or, just pray.
I imagine that your main combo could fail. What other forms of combos do you run inside this deck?
Obviously, since we're in blue-black, we have the Superman efficient combo of Tainted Pack, Oracle, or Consulate Oracle. So that is a backup win con, which also has a lot of really good synergy in the deck because we run cards such as Vidalcan Aether Mage and Step Through, which are wizard cycle cards. So if Spellseeker got exiled or Spellseeker's in the yard and we don't have a way to do the Spellseeker combo at a given time, we have a plethora of tutors that will help us find Oracle, and then we can go off that way. Additionally, I really view my graveyard and everyone else's graveyards as my second hand in this deck. So I run cards such as Yawgmoth's Will, Underworld Breach, and Mnemonic Betrayal. So with Yawgmoth's Will and Breach, you are usually able to finagle some sort of win, especially with our graveyards full if we're like past say turn 3. Usually can get tutors back, some fast mana, or something to finagle a line together. This is where knowing the line really well inside and out is very useful to see what pieces do you need and how can you get there. And then another 1-card win that we run the deck is Mnemonic Betrayal. And this card is just extremely powerful in cEDH because everyone's card quality is extremely high. Everyone's running tutors, everyone's running Consulate Oracle if they're in blue-black, everyone has Breach. So with this card, you are able to just get a win very consistently past like turn 2 or turn 3 when people's graveyards are filled up. And this is also really good in long games. If we're in like a long Staxier game, we weren't able to go off early, you're able to just use other people's resources and win. It's really important to remember that Mnemonic Betrayal, you can cast mana or use mana as was any color to cast these cards from the graveyard. So you're able to just finagle win cons. Like there's been times where I've done some like funny stuff where like I bring back someone's like Tidespot Tyrant, or I've used like an infinite mana combo from like a Savala deck to cast a big X spell to cast a Finale of Devastation where X was 1,000,000 from an Evo player's deck. So you can get really creative with this, and it's just so good in a format where everyone's playing the best of the best cards in Magic.
And there's a lot of wheels still running around from everyone. I mean, the graveyards get pretty big pretty fast.
Exactly. This card has never disappointed. Like there's only been maybe 1 or 2 times this card has resolved and I didn't win the game, and those games I ended up with a Rhystic Study, a Remora, and a bunch of fast mana.
Yeah, you could literally just use Mnemonic Betrayal to just put you in an advantage instead.
Yeah, exactly. Just doing Mnemonic Betrayal for value, where obviously we want to use it to win the game, but if we're able to just get a bunch of draw engines, bring back someone's dockside, and just sit on a bunch of mana and a Rhystic Study, that's not a bad position to be in, especially if we just got interrupted and we can no longer go off.
Since you mentioned Underworld Breach, I'm guessing you're also on the Brain Freeze, Islands of Diamond, and Underworld Breach as well, maybe?
So I'm actually not on Brain Freeze. There are some Inalla variants that choose to run it. And while the card is pretty good and you can tutor off it for Spellseeker, I just feel like the Spellseeker line is enough combos. So we have Spellseeker, Mnemonic Betrayal, and Tainted Pack Oracle to get wins. And I just felt Brain Freeze is introducing another dead card into the deck that doesn't really help us that much. Additionally, Breach is more for playing with our resources in our graveyard to try to get a win, whether it's our tutors, bringing back Spellseeker, and then we have LED for that synergy. And LED is also just really good in this deck since we are a very proactive combo deck and we only need 4 mana to go off. You can do things where maybe you only have 3 mana and it's turn, like say it's like turn 1 or turn 2 and you only have access to like blue and a mana crypt. If you have LED, you can cast your Spellseeker, crack LED with the search trigger on the stack, and now you have the black mana you need to go off. Or I've done a lot of things where I Wish Claw and then crack LED to get the mana I need to find whatever piece for my deck and then win from there.
So you're looking at Lion's Diamond like an all-in ritual, kind of.
Yeah, it's an all-in ritual that also has really good synergy with Breach and Yawgmoth's Will Turns.
Yeah, that is a good point. I mean, you don't need too many combos.
Yeah, the deck already has enough combos, and the Spellseeker line uses so many slots of our deck, and a lot of them can be dead outside of combo. So I just didn't feel that Brain Freeze was necessary here. So like I said, there are some variants that opt to run it, but I opted to run cards such as Yawgmoth's Will and Mean Betrayal, which I think are just more powerful and more relevant at multiple points of the game.
Yeah, but you do play this combo-ish. How's this been working out for you?
This has been amazing. I don't usually will go Necro and try to go super deep for Final Fortune unless I already have like a Simian Spirit Guide in hand or I'm really desperate. But the thing that I love with Final Fortune, and I think more people in the format should be using it this way, is that while it's really great off Necro turns and things along those lines, I like to just hold it in my hand. And I wait for there to be a big counter war, or for like if I see another proactive deck at the table or I'm playing in a pod with like Blue Farm, I'm going to let Blue Farm go, try to go off, people stop them, and then before the control player gets to untap, I'll activate Final Fortune and I get to sneak in a win that way.
And then you basically just go with your Spellseeker thing.
Exactly, either Spellseeker, Oracle Console, whatever I have in the hand. I really like keeping it for those types of situations where I have a win in hand, but I see that there's other proactive decks that might try to win. So while this isn't exactly winning on the stack, you just wait for the stack to resolve, and then you get to sneak in a turn while people have tapped out and expended their resources.
That have proven to be really strong in games recently. Final Fortune is like growing in activity, I think.
100%, and for very good reason. So while it's very good off Necro, I just love it just for the sake that I can sneak in wins. And there's plenty of games where I've stolen where I should not have won because I just am able to get a turn in when all the control players are tapped out.
How does Final Fortune actually synergize with Necro? Why are they two amazing with each other?
So Final Fortune is really good with Necropotence because, so we start off with 40 life, obviously. And if you're able to Necro for, say, 20 or 30 cards, like you're just trying to go for the win. If Final Fortune is in your hand and you have the mana to cast it, which is generally pretty easy because we also run cards such as Simian Spirit Guide and such. If you're able to cast you win the end step before you discard, you're able to still cast instants because you'll have priority there. So you can just cast your Final Fortune and now you're able to sculpt a perfect 7 hand, get an extra turn. And generally that's good enough to get there because you just can keep a bunch of counter magic. Our Spellseeker line's very mana efficient. Thassa's Oracle line's very mana efficient. So you can able to just keep like 4 cards of interaction and then the pieces that you need to just win the game. The most important thing that I think is that everyone should know about this combo is that these are the cards that are key to the end step of the loop. So while Spellseeker with 4 mana can get you to this end step, in reality, you only need Archaeomancer, Culling the Weak, or Burn Offering. Both serve the same purpose since they make 4 mana off Archaeomancer and Shallow Grave. So this is extremely important when you're looking at tutor targets, when you're looking at your graveyard, at pieces that you've wheeled. For instance, if you've wheeled away Burn Offering earlier in the game and now you have Shallow Grave in hand, you can just Entomb for Archaeomancer and that will get you the win. So this is where it's really important to see how you can skip steps because this is what actually goes infinite. Spellseeker has nothing to do with the final steps of the loop. It just helps set it up. And knowing paying attention to these 4 cards is also really important because I play Intuition. So you can look at your graveyard, see what pieces you're missing, force people to give you one of your missing links or a tutor, or in general, Intuition just helps you set up your graveyard beautifully. And one common pile that I like to do is Archaeomancer, Reanimation Spell, and Spellseeker. It obviously requires a little bit more mana than the 4 to go off from there, but you're able to assemble the necessary pieces you need, and Intuition is set up your graveyard to where you have a like Shallow Grave or Exhume already there, and then you can just try to combo off naturally.
I'm guessing this is another possible Intuition pile for you.
Yes, absolutely. Especially since my list, I run Exhume, which is something that not all lists are on. But having that extra reanimation spell can be really important where Reanimate Spellseeker can help you get there because now you have the extra reanimation spell to cast later on in the line. As well as just having having redundancy in case something gets exiled, because this deck's greatest weaknesses are Deathrite Shaman and Mental Misstep. So having some ways to get around that or just having redundancy is extremely important. Intuition, the most common pile I will go for is Spellseeker, a reanimation spell of some sort, usually Shallow Grave or Exhume, and Archaeomancer, because this basically gets us to the end step of our loop and we're able to find pieces. Basically any card they give us is good because we either get a double tutor off Seeker, we can start to try to go off with Archaeomancer, or something along those lines. Also, Archaeomancer is not a bad value piece. While I know 4 mana seems like a lot, we have to play it to make the deck's combo work, and just hard casting it for 4 mana and then bringing back 2 instants or sorceries is pretty powerful, whether that's interaction you need, getting another tutor, etc. It's not something that I do every game, but it is something that's nice to have in your back pocket. Additionally, with Intuition, you can get triple tutor, triple counterspell if that is what the situation demands, because we have a lot of 1-card combos, so if we just get 3 tutors, that'll help get us there. We also, since we run Breach, Yawgmoth's Will, and Meme Betrayal, we can get those 3 in the pile, and no matter which one of the 3 we're given, we should be able to find a win some way, shape, or form from there.
And then you also play Oddnaws in your Inalla deck. I mean, you're playing a lot of really low CMC rituals.
Yep, I mean, if you're in black and you're not playing Adnaws, I don't know what's going on. The card's just too powerful. So
yes.
While my version of the deck isn't the best at main phasing Adnaws, because I've kind of opted for more of these 1-card wins that are all 3 CMC, like such as Meme Betrayal and Yawgmoth's Will. I also try to run a bit more interaction, since I've come to learn that the turn 2 win, while it does happen sometimes, you can't bank on that every game. So I run a lot more interaction than a lot of other Inalla lists, so I opt for cards such as Spell Pierce, Delay, and Force of Negation. So main phase Adnaws is not necessarily where I want to be all the time, but the card's is extremely powerful to do on end step. One big thing that we talk about a lot in the Inalla server is 4 is greater than 5, and that might not make much sense to you, but in reality, Spellseeker is only 4 mana to win, where Adnaws is 5 mana to potentially win. So I always try to prioritize the Spellseeker line, and my Adnaws is more for if I can get it off on someone's end step, or if it's just more of like a value Naws. It's very rare when I play my deck that I am trying to main phase Adnaws early and hope I get there off the win, because the mana values are a little bit clunky, especially now that I added Step Through from Modern Horizons 2, because it's another Wizard Cycle card. I'm always just trying to get for Spellseeker. Adnaws is there because it's just such a powerful effect, but that's not really my main game plan going into any game.
But it's just like you said, it is just a good card overall anyway, and you probably should play it, because sometimes just drawing 5 cards, 10 cards, that's good enough for 5 mana.
Yeah, exactly, especially at instant speed.
Yes, but I'm also guessing that this wizard is, with its 4 mana cost, it's making it a little bit annoying to try to go for a big Oddnaws.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit tricky. Like I said, I run a lot of 3 CMC spells. I run Archaeomancer, which is at 4, Step Through, I believe that's 5 CMC. Yeah, so like I said, it can be a little bit awkward, but at the end of the day, I'm not a main phase Adnaws deck. If I have a ton of mana, I'll try to go for it, but for the most part, this is definitely something you try to save for someone's end step, and we have so many 1-card wins. It's very easy to get there as long as we have open mana.
How should you pilot this deck? What is your focus when you're going into a game?
I generally look at my hand and I see, can I go for the turn 2 win? The deck mulligans very aggressively. And like I said earlier, while you might not be able to count on winning turn 2 every game, and you shouldn't, like that's just not feasible. Like everyone has interaction, people run stacks. I like this deck so much because I can go for the turn 2 win consistently. And if I get stopped, their Spellseeker gets countered, it gets killed or bounced, or my line gets interrupted because they have a Mental Misstep and you can interact at 10 different points within the line with Mental Misstep, it's fine because I love viewing my graveyard as my second hand. From there, a reanimation spell lets me try again, and I run 4 different reanimation spells. Yawgmoth's Will, Breach can help me get there. I run all, we're in black, so we run all the black tutors that can get me there. So I just love being able to thread in a win as soon as possible, turn 2, turn 3 every game. If I get stopped, it's no big deal. I have so many live draws and I run a lot of interaction in my deck where I can get to a point where I will try again. There's been multiple games where it's turn 5 and I tried to win every single turn.
That is scary, and that is something you should have to respect.
Exactly. So when I play this deck and people see it at the table, when I first started playing it and started getting better at it, people really underestimated and didn't realize how I can just win from open boards. And now when I play it, it's really hard to get wins because everyone knows I'm just going to try to win every turn. So I really got to pick my moments a little bit more carefully. But it's just so fun being able to thread in a win consistently over and over again because our combos are so mana efficient and so many single cards in the deck get us there.
I have a feeling though that you're being interacted with regarding stacks in a lot of different ways. Search, you have to search. You have to cast several spells during a turn. Increasing the mana cost of spells is is going to be a big problem, like Thalia would be tricky. You have to have access to your graveyard. You have to cast spells outside of your hand. Am I missing something? There should be more that could annoy you. Grafdigger's Cage destroys you.
Grafdigger's Cage does it. Yeah, any type of grave hate, search hate, any form of stacks effect hurts us. Artifacts also really hurt us because how are you getting 4 mana turn 2? You have to be using artifacts for the most part. Obviously, we have rituals, but artifact hate also really hurts this deck. I'm only on 27 lands at the moment. Yeah, stacks is definitely very hard for this deck, but that's just kind of the nature of playing any proactive deck, I feel, and you just kind of have to accept it. And that's why I run a lot of interaction, and that's also one reason why I really opted to include Dark Confidant in the deck, which is also something that not many other Inallas are on at the moment. I also run a lot of different bounce effects, like I run Cyclonic Rift, which a lot of people don't like in a lot of proactive decks, but I've found that it's just very necessary. For one, it's tutorable off Spellseeker, so I can get Psych Rift and insert any other good card in my deck. Being able to just answer multiple threats is really important because if there's multiple stacks pieces, we just can't win because, as you mentioned, every stacks effect in the game prevents us from going off. So we need to have answers for that. So that's part of the reason I've upped my counterspell package and just as many bounce spells as I could fit. And you also have to think about which stacks pieces only hurt you versus ones everyone at the table is trying to deal with. Like, so for instance, Rule of Law. Obviously, I can't win through Rule of Law, but what deck in the format can win through Rule of Law? So I need to prioritize the things such as Rest in Peace, Grafdigger's Cage, and that's what I need to hold my interaction for, hold it for those pieces that only stop me, because eventually someone else at the table is going to deal with the Rest in Peace or deal with the Rule of Law effect or deal with the Trinisphere effect. So it's really being patient, not ripping your spells too prematurely, and really realizing like, okay, Rule of Law is stopping the whole table. Someone else might deal with this eventually. Rest in Peace is what my focus is. Let them bounce Rule of Law, and then I have like a counter spell to help stop them or something along those lines. Like I think I run like 30 instants in this deck, and my interaction suit is like around 15 to 18, including counter spells and bounce spells. So while the deck is very proactive, I have the interaction suit of a more mid-range deck.
I 100% agree, by the way, regarding what you said about not interacting immediately with Rule of Law. I really believe that you should play the players, not play your cards. Figure out if there's someone around the table that is gonna help you doing what you want to achieve.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't be the one with all the answers, especially in a proactive deck. So it sucks when you're trying to win turn 2, but sometimes you really just need to be patient, sit back. Because if you blow all your bounce spells bouncing all the stacks pieces, you might fold to a single counter spell or like the silence someone has in their hand, and then they just win. So it's really just being patient and learning how to play against stacks, which you just get through more practice, honestly.
How many wizards do you play in this deck? I mean, it's a wizard tribal, right?
More like Spellseeker tribal. We run a total of 4 wizards: Dark Confidant, Spellseeker, Archaeomancer, and Vidalcan Aethermage. And Vidalcan Aethermage is only there to find Spellseeker. Oh, and we also have Thassa's Oracle.
That's a wizard. Are there any interesting, almost playable wizards out there that have been popping up for you?
So one that has had some experimenting, there's someone in the Inalla server, Cole, who's been playing it with a lot of great success recently, is Seagate Stormcaller. And I don't know a lot of the lines off the top of my head. I believe he will have, he has a better explanation in his primer, which we can also link below. But it's able to just get a lot of value off your instants and sorceries, and making a copy of Inalla opens up some really cool lines. You're able to double tutor or be able to like cast a demonic tutor, and then you get 2 copies of it, which can generally get you there. You know, putting any 2 cards from your deck into your hand is pretty good. So I'd say this is one wizard that is definitely worth considering. And the lines it opens up are definitely very cool and unique. I just prefer to focus a little bit more on Spellseeker. With Inalla, you're able to make a copy of it, and then you're able to copy multiple times.
So it's 3 mana to basically copy it twice.
Yes, exactly. So 3 mana lets you copy an instant sorcery 3 times, which once again, Demonic Tutor's in the game. So 5 mana, get 3 cards to your hand. Pretty good spot to be in. So definitely a very good card, and opens up a lot of very interesting lines for the deck, if that's a route that you would like to go.
I think that's it in wizards, right? I don't think there's that many.
That is it. There really isn't, unfortunately. Now that we're off Wanderwine Prophet and stuff.
I noticed that in your deck, you are playing a lot of wheels, but you don't play Time Twister.
Yeah, so while Time Twister is generally a very good card, and it's a cEDH staple in a lot of blue decks, I care way too much about my graveyard to shuffle it away. I view my graveyard as my second hand at all times, which is why I like running cards such as Yawgmoth's Will and Underworld Breach, as well as Intuition, just to help set up my grave. And I don't want to be in a spot where I lose my graveyard, because the way I see it is if my graveyard's at 15, 20 cards, that's 20 more cards that are in my hand that I have access to, or with Archaeomancer being able to just assemble a win.
As Archaeomancer seems to be the card you have to play, is Is there a reason to play more of these, or do you only need one?
I feel like you only need one, and there is actually another card that you can opt to run over Archaeomancer, which is called Scholar of Ages. So Scholar of Ages has a similar effect to Archaeomancer, where you're able to return 2 instant or sorcery cards back from your graveyard, and you don't need to use the Inalla trigger to do that. So this lets you have a little bit more protection layer down the line. I don't know the loop off the top of my head, but there is a way to win at instant speed with this, since you're able to just get back so many instants and sorceries. I opt to run Archaeomancer because, for one, 7 mana is more than 4, so this is a little bit better for nosing turns. And additionally, I like casting Archaeomancer for value sometimes. Like, it's obviously not plan A, but we're casting so many spells in a game. If our early Spellseeker line got stopped, we're able to bring back just powerful tutors, reanimation spells, etc. to try to get back there. So I just like that it's 4 mana versus 7. So they both have their pros and cons, and you really can't go wrong with either. It just depends what you preference.
Now, if you're interested in seeing exactly how Mikey have been putting this deck together, there's a link to that deck list in the description below the video. But if people want to ask questions about Inalla, is there a place to turn to? But because of what I've been hearing, there are a lot of different versions of Inalla.
Yeah, so there's a few different variants. So within the overall Grixis server, there's an Inalla channel, which is very active with people constantly talking about new cards that have come out, testing new things. You can see discussions of Scholar of Ages versus Archaeomancer, or the Stormgate Collar line, or Seagate Collar lines, excuse me. It's a great place to go. Very open community, very welcoming, lots of good knowledge there, and you will be able to find whatever knowledge fits your playstyle.
So there's no specific Inalla Discord server. This is a Inalla sub chat inside the Grixis Discord server.
Yeah, that is correct. So there's basically, it's called the Grixis Mean Girls server. So there's one for within that, there's a channel for Inalla, for Kess, for Obeka, for Jaleva. But yeah, that is the best place to go for any Inalla information.
That is a really good name for a Discord server. Grixis Mean Girls.
Exactly. I love it.
That's it for us. Thank you, Mikey, for coming over.
Yeah, no problem. I'm always happy to talk about my favorite Grixis Mean Girl, Inalla. Go fast, seeking for wins with style. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on Discord. There's my Discord right over there. And also, quick shout out to Mike from Playing with Power for my beautiful Spellseeker altar, which is part of the reason I love playing this deck so much.
That is a beauty.
Yeah, I love it.
Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and you wanna support me, feel free to share my videos or even checking out my Patreon page. Also, purchasing cards from the TCG Players website using the affiliate link in the description below of the video will also help the channel grow. So a big thank you to all of you.